Hey, shalom, shalom. And before I get started, as always, I want to say call halal Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai Bahashem Rakah Quadash, and double honors be unto our apostles and the elder bishops at Great Millstone that rule well and that teach well and that taught me this truth through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. All right. And peace and blessings also be unto the elect, men, women, and children, all right, of the 1/3. All right, those of you who truly believe on the names Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. All right. And, just coming back at you with another lesson. Lord's will to edify the lambs, the sheep of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. All right. And the title of today's lesson is going to be Store Up Your Spiritual Shekels in Heaven. All right. It's either going to be, store up your spiritual shekels or store up your spiritual shekels in heaven. All right. Because, see, Jake is worried about a bag on this side in this world. Okay. They worried about being comfortable here. All right. Whereas, the men of the Lord, all right, we're storing up our treasures in heaven. Okay. Like the scripture says, where thieves don't break in and steal. Okay. And where moth and rust don't corrupt. All right. Because, see, this money that Jake deems something on this side is going to collapse, man. All right. But the treasures that we're trusting in and storing up and building up that spiritual bank account, okay, is going to be forever, man. Okay. Can't nobody take this away from us. Okay. The only way this could be taken away from you unless you put your hand toward iniquity. All right. Otherwise, this can't be taken away from you, man. All right. And even the scripture tells you, for where a man's treasure is, there where his heart be also, meaning your mind. Okay. Your mind is going to be, the kingdom of heaven. Okay. Which it dwells within us because we have this wisdom, this knowledge, this truth. All right. So we already have a piece of the kingdom, man. All we got to do is keep enduring. All right. Hardness as a good soldier of Hamashiach or Yahweh Shah Hamashiach. Okay. And keep pushing and endure to the end, man. All right. And we're going to be rewarded. All right. Far more than Jake could imagine on this side, man. Far more than $1 million, man. $1 trillion. Okay. This these spiritual shekels that we're building up, man, is going to be everlasting. Okay. It's going to lead to something great, a great reward. Okay. Well, we're not going to be the last ones hired, the first ones fired, man. Okay. We're going to actually rule. Okay. Where the woman ain't going to be over us no more. In which they're not over us now, but in this world, all right, as the scripture says, the Lord created a new thing in the earth that a woman shall surpass a man. Seeing that the wicked is in power, okay, women are doing, as they will. They got the liberty to gad abroad, man. Okay. And to think they have some form of place in this society till all hell breaks loose. And that security that they once had be done away with, be out the window. Okay. But I'm going to go ahead and get straight into the scriptures, and Lord's will this lesson be edifying. All right. This is Matthew 6:19. It says, lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal, right? And when you go into that word treasure, it says the place in which good and precious things are collected and laid up. All right. Which is that spiritual bank account, man. Okay. And the men of the Lord, we're being judged now, so we're not condemned with the world. Okay, we seeking Yahweh Shema Shai now, man. Okay, and not later. Okay, and that's part of storing up your treasures, man. Okay, so we can have that security in the time of trouble. Okay, Jacob's trouble. All right. Because that day and that hour is coming, man. Okay, the hour of temptation. Okay, where the men of the Lord are going to be tested. All right, but if you've been storing your treasures in heaven, okay, you're not going to fold in that time, man. Because you're going to trust in what you have been stacking up, building up. Okay, which is this wisdom, this knowledge, this truth. Whereas Jake, that has been storing up money. Okay, that shit ain't going to get you out of this, out of the hardships and the afflictions and the perilous times that we're coming into. That ain't going to get you out of it, man. Okay, having the spirit of Yahweh Shema Shai will. Trusting in Yahweh Shema Shai will, man. Okay, that's what's going to get us out of these different circumstances, man. Okay. And I got a quick precept real quick. This is Sirach or Ecclesiasticus 29:11. And it says, lay up thy treasure according to the commandments of the Most High, and it shall bring thee more profit than gold. Right? And that's what the men of the Lord are doing. Okay? We're storing up our treasures according to the commandments of Yahweh Shema Shai. Okay? Not according to this world. Because the carnal money that we see now today is getting ready to be done away with, man. All right? They're getting ready to go digital. Okay? And for you Jakes who's trusting in this money, trusting in riches of this world, you're going to have to make a choice. Okay? Certain family members, that you may care about. All right? They're going to take the, our family members going to take the chip, man. Okay? Certain of our moms, certain of our, dads, uncle, you might have had a favorite uncle. Okay, they going to take the chip. Okay, because they ain't storing up their treasures in heaven, man. They storing it up where moth and rust corrupt. Okay, where people can take it. Somebody could rob you, man, if you get $1 million, man. Okay? But the treasure that we have now, according to the Spirit, you can't take. You can't break into in our mind, okay, and take what we got. Okay? And it says, shut up alms in thy storehouses, and it shall deliver thee from all affliction. And that's what we're doing, man. Okay? Storing up them treasures in, our spiritual storehouse. Okay? And it shall deliver thee from all affliction, man. Because at the end of the day, as it is written, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation, man. Okay? That's what's going to keep us stable and away from the different afflictions that's getting ready to come upon the earth and upon the men of the Lord. Okay? And back to Matthew 6:20, it says, "But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal." And it says, "For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also." Right? And our treasure is in the heavens, man. All right? The people that we see day to day, and certain Israelites even that took the bag, okay, they're from beneath, meaning they're of this world, okay? But we're from above, man. All right? The spirit that we have, all right, is from the heavens. It's from above, okay? And that's where our treasure is at, okay? Our treasure is from the heavens, okay? And that's where our mind is at, that new heaven, new earth, that dwell in righteousness, man. All right, seeing how wicked and polluted this world is, man. We don't want no part in this. And that's why the Lord said, "Arise and depart, for this is not your rest." Okay? And real quick, I want to get this 1 Corinthians 9:25. Okay? And we get straight into it, because at the end of the day, we're fighting for an incorruptible crown. Okay, a crown that's not corrupted. Okay, it's not perishable. Okay, immortal for everlasting life. Okay, undecaying crown, man. Okay, so the way we think and what we're fighting for is just out of this world, man. Okay, and that's why a natural man can't receive these things. Okay, because they're not spiritually discerned, man. Okay, this spirit have to be given from Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, man. Okay, and getting into it, this is 1 Corinthians 9:24. It says, "Know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize? So run that ye may obtain." And that's what we're doing. We're doing this work, the work of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, aka storing up our spiritual shekels that we may obtain. All right, that we're gonna get what? The reward, man, that was promised to us. All right, salvation. Okay, Yahweh Shai said, "In his Father's house is many mansions," man. Okay, so we're looking forward to that promise where the Lord has promised us that he goes to prepare a place for us, man. Okay, what rest is allowed, man. Okay, because it ain't here. So why in the hell will we store up our treasures here, man? Stacking up a 401k like we gonna be here forever. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but you got to know whatever, we got to sow as we're not going to reap. All right. Or Salakia. If I said that right, yeah, man, we got to act like we're not going to bear any fruit. Whether you might have a business, you got to know that that shit ain't gonna last forever, man. You might have a house, okay, a nice ass ride, okay. You got to know that all this shit is temporal, man. And in the blink of an eye, all this shit's gonna be gone, man. Eventually, okay. And that's part of not being entangled with the affairs of this life, man. To where you care about all that, your assets, okay, to the point to where you're pretty much going to look back. All right, you're going to be like Lot's wife. And we can't be like Lot's wife. We can't be like Job's wife. Okay, and that's why Job told her ass, you sound like one of them foolish women. All right, because she said what? Curse the Most High and die. Okay, she was used to doing so good to where she couldn't bear taking the low, man. We can't be like that, man. All right, and this truth, it teaches us how to what? To be abound and be a base. All right, how to be low, how to be high, man. How to balance things out, right? So 1 Corinthians 9:25, it says, and every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things. And it says, now they that do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible. That's right, man. And we're one of those men, that's striving for the mastery. All right. So it says it's temperate in all things, meaning we're balanced. Okay. Like, once again, we know how to be high. We know how to be low. All right. We're self-control, man. All right. We content with whatever the Lord gives us. We're thankful for it. Okay. So it says now they do it to obtain, meaning to get a corruptible crown. All right. Certain Israelites out there, they think gain is godliness, man. And that's why a lot of guys took the bag. Okay. And now they're teaching that heathens could be delivered, could be saved. Right? And the heathens, they gonna be in the kingdom, but they ass gonna be in slavery, man. All right, they ain't gonna enjoy the fruits of the kingdom like we are. All right. The scripture says the first shall be last, and the last shall be first, man. And we're last in this society. Okay, so we're getting ready to be put on top. Okay. That's that future of the kingdom. A new heaven and new earth is for us, man. It's for the elect, for the Israelites. But it's going to start with the elect. Okay? And we're doing this work to obtain a corruptible crown, man. A crown that can't be destroyed, man. Okay? And it says, verse 26, I therefore so run, not as certainly, so fight I, not as one that beateth the air, right? Because we know what we're fighting for, man. Okay, we're fighting to obtain that crown. Okay, we're fighting for everlasting, man. Okay, and we're storing up our treasures in heaven so we can use them when it's time for them to be used. Okay, so we can be protected, man. All right, the money Jake is stacking up and storing up, that ain't gonna protect you in these times, man. All right, it's gonna be of no value. All right, the treasure that we're storing up is of value. It holds its value. Okay, the value don't go away. It don't go up and down. All right, this value just get more and more greater, man. The more and more we get closer to the kingdom. Okay. And I pray and hope, through the spirit of Yahweh by Shemiah Shai, by Shem Kakwadash, that this lesson was edifying. And until next time, I want to say Shalom. Shalom.